Hi, I'm Dr. Randy White, and for some time now I've been concerned about some of the speakers that are coming to the Convocation at Liberty University. And so I want to begin critiquing some of these scriptures, some of these speakers, because it is the largest gathering of Christian college students that takes place on a regular basis 3 times a week anywhere in the world. But there are some bad speakers getting behind that pulpit. Today I want to talk about Jefferson Bethke, who was in Liberty just this past week here. And I want to talk about some of the things that he had to say to over 10,000 Liberty students who were there that day. Let's begin right here about 10 seconds after the 11-minute mark. Jefferson Bethke, Liberty University.
And one last thing on Genesis before we really get to what I want to chat about is, and this is deeply fascinating.
Deeply fascinating.
You can take it or you can leave it.
I'm going to leave it.
Some scholars are led to believe, lately especially with new findings, that according to ancient Near East traditions, which by the way don't really matter, kind of the Bible tradition, like it's not Western, it's not 21st century, it was written a long time ago.
By the way, catch this as you're listening to Jefferson Bethke or other speakers. They love to embrace that which is Eastern and reject that which is Western. If you were to listen to this whole thing, you'd hear several occasions in which Jefferson Bethke says, now, it's not American, it's not Western. There is a rejection of all things Western and a love affair with all things Eastern. Let's continue to go. He's saying, hey, there's something new here, something you need to catch. In the Genesis narrative is what he's talking about. That is the creation narrative.
In the Eastern world. According to ancient Near Eastern traditions,
I'd rather go by the Bible.
Most scholars believe now that
most scholars believe he's going to catch himself on this one.
If you were to read Genesis 1, well, I should say some, not most, there's bajillions of scholars.
Yeah.
When you read Genesis 1, it's actually a Hebrew or someone in that ancient Near East tradition would have recognized it as a temple creation.
They wouldn't have seen it as a chronological story of the creation account. They would have recognized it as a temple creation.
Yes. Meaning it followed rhythms and it followed frameworks of similar texts on what a temple was supposed to be built like.
Rhythms and frameworks. I love it, Jefferson. Oh, I wonder if that's new with you? No, not at all. Actually, he is preaching and proclaiming something that really goes against what Liberty teaches. You see, I believe that Liberty holds to the idea that creation was done in 6 days. But this right here is the theology that says throw out Genesis 1 as a chronological discussion or presentation of history, but rather it is poetic. In fact, let's just look at a couple of things as we consider this issue that he has used here. And let's start out with this. Let there be light, the genesis of biblical cosmology. And it talks about this Genesis creation. Here it goes. This report, by the way, is Genesis 1 and 2, proceeds methodically to outline a sophisticated cosmology whose chronological framework reflects the structural features of a typical Syro-Palestinian temple in antiquity. And then it goes on to describe this. By the way, this is from a very reputable source, the Journal of Cosmology. And you can learn about the origins of life, extinctions, the conscience of the universe. If you read the Journal of Cosmology, they love this idea that Jefferson Bethke is putting forth. Of course, you can look in Wikipedia, always another good source. Genesis creation narrative. It says the Genesis creation narrative is the creation myth of Judaism and Christianity. They're talking about Genesis 1 and 2, by the way. The creation myth. And if you go down, the sources of this myth, the structure of this myth, and here's the Mesopotamian influence. And here we go. As it says, then they both conclude with the creation of a human called man and the building of a temple for God. In Genesis 1, this temple is the entire cosmos. Now, I want you to know that this is exactly what Jefferson Bethke is saying as he comes together and says, he says, as he's reading Genesis 1, which we're going to back up into, he says, look, friends at Liberty, this is not so much a chronology of what has happened as it is a poetic text. The problem is Genesis 1 is not a poetic text. You know, he's already told us what he thinks about Genesis 1. earlier. I skipped it, but I want to jump back to about the 8-minute mark, 8:22, and let's see what he has to say about the creation of man. He's reading Genesis chapter 1, verse 26. We jumped ahead and saw that he believes in this creation narrative, this poetic Genesis. Let's hear.
Genesis 1, and we are image bearers of God. And that's what I want to talk about real quick. So if you have your Bible, Genesis 1, verse 26 says this: Then God said, let us make man, and that's mankind, right? So it's like plural, saying like all the mankind, not just dude, not just Adam. Let us make dude. That doesn't make sense. Let us make man in our image, after our likeness, and let them have dominion over the fish.
Let us make man. Oh, wait. Don't think he made one man. Don't think we're talking about dude. I didn't make dude. That doesn't make any sense. Why doesn't it make any sense? When you read chapter 2, which is a commentary on chapter 1, you find out it makes all sorts of sense. And God made Adam, and Adam was alone, and later he made Eve. And yet Jefferson here goes into say God made mankind. It doesn't make sense to say he made dude. Listen, that's liberal theology is what it is. I'm going to tell you what Genesis 1 and Genesis 2 teach us is that God made a dude and named him Adam, and then God made a helpmate for him, and she was named Eve. She came from the flesh of Adam, and God didn't make mankind. God made a dude, and then God made a wife for the dude, and then the dude and his wife, they made mankind. Well, how about that? But I tell you what, let's just continue to listen here for a few minutes.
Over the birds of the heaven, and over the livestock, and over all the earth, and over every creeping thing that creeps on the earth. So God created man in his own image. In the image of God, he created him, male and female, he created them. Now this isn't in my notes, but one thing that's really interesting is notice how the image of God is declared or revealed first in community, not in individuality. You see that?
Oh! Wait a minute. So this is why you were focusing on the fact that God made mankind, in addition to the fact that perhaps you just wanted to throw out the fact that God made a dude, one man, Adam and Eve made all the rest of mankind. But here, the image of God, being an image bearer, you talk about here, Jefferson, and then you say that the image of God is in community.
That's crazy.
That's great.
Again, we always like to do that, right? We make image of God all about individualness. You are made in the image of God. You are.
Now, this is something that liberals, again, love to do. They want to put all society together in a collection. And here he comes and says, don't think image of God is you, not you individually. It's us. We're the image of God. We're a big family, and together when we come as a family, all of humanity is the image of God. That's just liberal bunk is what it is. And it does away with the individual nature in which God made one man, his name was Adam, and he stamped in Adam the image of God. The second Adam, Jesus Christ would be the very image of God, the exact representation of God, all in one man. There was the first Adam, the image of God, the second Adam, the perfect image of God. Now, as we continue on here, let's just back up just a little bit if we could, and go to about the 7-minute and 25-second mark, where we have a very enlightening quote. 7 minutes, 25 seconds. Let's see if we can start right in here.
A sinner, sin is the problem, and we are going to deal with that. But image of God is our primary identity. Well, and again, if you start in Genesis 3, then what happens? You make...
He's saying, are you a Genesis 3 Christian or a Genesis 1 Christian? Do you just start with sin, or do you start with the image of God? If you start with Genesis 3, here's the problem.
Sin, management, and payment, the big deal.
Sin, management, and payment becomes the big deal. Seems kind of like a big deal to me, but nonetheless, I understand a little what he's saying. You got to start with God and the purpose of creation, but you make sin, management, and payment the big deal. Now catch this.
That's a quote from Dallas Willard. He said,
"Ooh, wait. That's a quote from Dallas Willard." Well, I think we ought to just check and see who Dallas Willard is. And let me encourage you, Liberty students, when you hear someone say, so-and-so said this, look up and see who so-and-so is and see if you want to buy it. So Dallas Willard, you probably have him in some of your textbooks. I wish you didn't. I wish they'd throw away everything you put. And all the spiritual transformation stuff that's being put out there, it is garbage from the beginning. But look, Dallas Willard, here's his website, dwillard.org, and let's just jump down to the very bottom of his article here as there's this interview going on, DW and Cutting Edge magazine, and we come down to the end, and here it is. I'm not going to say that he can't save them, God can't save them. I'm happy for God to save anyone he wants, any way he can. It is possible for someone who does not know Jesus to be saved, but anyone who's going to be saved is going to be saved by Jesus. There's no other name given in heaven by which men can be saved. Now, isn't that clever? First of all, let's start at the end there. He tries to make a safe statement. Only Jesus saves. Oh, that's safe. But then he's already laid out a universalism, and that is that it's possible for someone who does not know Jesus to be saved. That is, Jesus can save whoever he wants, whether or not they know him, trust him, believe in him. So, I wonder why, as we gave this Dallas Willard quote about sin management, by the way, this comes from a book called Divine Conspiracy, as he gave that quote saying, you'd be a Genesis 3 Christian all about sin management. That's a quote from Dallas Willard, the Universalist. Why don't you add that in and be totally honest with who Dallas Willard is? Many, many evangelicals reject Dallas Willard. Don't use him as a quote. That tells us way too much. But Dallas Willard wrote a book called The Divine Conspiracy. And the Divine Conspiracy is about how the kingdom is already started. The kingdom is in the here and now. The kingdom is in your heart. The kingdom is wherever God rules and reigns. The kingdom is us together. And that really is all that Jefferson Bethke's message is about here, which I think is something that needs to be rejected altogether. We could talk about it more if we had more time, but let's go to one bit of offensive work that is done here by Jefferson Bethke at Liberty University Convo, and let's go to, let's see, 1415 here, and see what we've got.
He still wants to dwell with his people. He could have said, "I'll screw you. You guys are idiots." Am I allowed to say that here?
No, you're not allowed to say that. He's talking about God. And he just put some what I think is some vulgar words into God's mouth. He said, God could have said, "I'll screw you." No, God couldn't have said that. That is not in the nature of God. God is a holy God. Don't put that which is vulgar into the mouth of God and then laugh it out. Oh, I guess I wasn't supposed to say that here. And did you overcome it? Well, I'll tell you what, let's jump ahead. Just not even 2 minutes. Let's go to the 16-minute mark. And about 16:30. Let's see if this works for us.
And then instead, you probably could have given us the middle finger or something on that one. Dang it.
Ah!
I shouldn't use that example either.
No, you shouldn't. He's talking about God again and saying God could have used the middle finger. He could have given us the middle finger. Dang it, I shouldn't have said that. Dang it, you shouldn't have said dang it. Nor should you say God might give us the middle finger, could have given us the middle finger, could have said, "I'll screw you." Jefferson Bethke, that is vulgar, and God is holy. Don't do it. And whoever's inviting people to Liberty Convo, quit inviting Jefferson Bethke. I'm Dr. Randy White with an opinion about Jefferson Bethke and Liberty Convo.